So let's say we were given 6 divided by 3. Now what does this mean? This symbol is the division symbol. In math, dividing basically means that we're splitting something equally. So for this problem, it just means that we have the number 6, and we're splitting it into 3 equal parts. Now our job is to find what number goes here, here, and here. But the catch is that all 3 of these numbers have to be the same, and they have to add up to 6. So how do we do this? Well, we have to think about it like this. How many times can 3 go into 6? If we have 3 alone, it just equals 3. But what happens if we add another 3? 3 plus 3 equals 6. Notice how we have 2 3's, and 2 3's go into 6. So since 2 3's can go into 6, then that means 6 divided by 3 equals 2. And now, let's check our work. Let's split this into 3 equal parts. And if we make these numbers 2, 2, and 2, notice how all 3 of these numbers are the same. And 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So that means we have the right answer. Let's try another problem. Let's do 10 divided by 2. So remember, we're splitting this number and we're dividing it by 2. So we're splitting this into 2 parts. So we have to find this number and this number. So we have to ask ourselves, how many times can 2 go into 10? 2 alone is just 2. 2 plus 2, that's 4. Plus another 2, this is 6. Plus another 2, this is 8. And then plus one more 2, this equals 10. Notice how we have 5 2's in total. So that means 5 2's go into 10. So this means 10 divided by 2 equals 5. And now let's check our work. If we split 10 into 2 parts, and we put 5 for these numbers, notice how 5 plus 5 equals 10. So we know we have the right answer. Let's try another one. Let's do 36 divided by 9. So we have to ask ourselves, how many times can 9 go into 36? 9 alone is just 9. 9 plus 9, that equals 18. Plus another 9, that equals 27. And then plus one more 9, that equals 36. So notice how we have 4 9's here. So 9 can go into 36 4 times. So 36 divided by 9 equals 4. And if we wanted to check our work, all we have to do is make a line. So notice how we have 36, and we have to divide it into 9 equal parts. So now that we have 9 equal parts, let's put 4 here, 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 and 4 here. And so this would be 4 plus 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 4, which equals 36. So we know we have the right answer. Now, is there an easier way to check our answer? Let's introduce some new vocabulary. This number here, this is called the dividend. This number here is called the divisor. notice how the dividend is being divided by the divisor. So the dividend is the number that we're dividing. The number 4 is the quotient. And this is basically your answer. So let's take a look at this again. To check your answer, all we have to do is multiply the quotient with the divisor. So this is our quotient, and this is the divisor. So that would be 4 times 9. And 4 times 9 equals 36. And 36 is equal to the dividend. So if the quotient times the divisor equals the dividend, then the answer is correct. And notice how 4 times 9 is actually the same as adding 4 plus 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 1 more 4, which also equals 36. And if you don't believe me, you can look back into the video a few seconds ago. Now let's try another problem. Let's do 54 divided by 6. So how many times can 6 go into 54? 6 alone, that's just 6, plus another 6, that's 12, plus another 6, that's 18, plus one more, that's 24, plus this is 30, 36, 42, 48, and then 54. And this equals 54. Notice how we have 9 6's, so therefore 54 divided by 6 just equals 9. And now let's check our work with the easier method. So notice how this is the quotient and this is the divisor. So the quotient times the divisor should equal the dividend. And the dividend is just this number. So 9 times 6 equals 54. So therefore, we have the right answer because 9 is the quotient, 6 is the divisor, and 54 is the dividend. Now, that's a lot of work just for dividing 54. Is there an easier way we can divide large numbers? So let's say we had 70 divided by 5. Is there an easier way we can solve for this? Notice how 70 is the dividend and 5 is the divisor. So we want to write it like this. We want the inside of this symbol to be the dividend and the outside to be the divisor. So recall that the dividend was 70 and the divisor was 5. Now we have to look at the first number. How many times can 5 go into 7? 5 on its own is just 5. If we add another 5, that equals 10, which is larger than 7. So really, 5 can only go into 7 one time. So let's put a 1 above 7. Now, we have to subtract this by the divisor times the amount it can go in. 5 times 1 just equals 5. So we have to subtract this by 5. 7 minus 5, that equals 2. And now we have to look at the next number and then drag it down. Now how many times can the divisor 5 go into 20? 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20. And notice how there's 4 5s. So 5 can go into 20 4 times. Now what we have to do is take the divisor and multiply it by the amount of times that it can go into this number. So 5 can go into 24 times. So 5 times 4 equals 20. So we have to subtract this by this number. 20 minus 20, that just equals 0. Once this number at the bottom equals 0, we're done. So that means the number on top here is your answer. So that means 70 divided by 5 equals 14. And if you don't believe me, you can take this number and multiply it with this number, and then you should get this number. Now let's try another problem. Let's say we had 120 divided by 6. So let's write this in the format that we need it in. Let's put 6 on the outside, and let's put 120 on the inside. Now let's take a look at the first number. How many times can 6 go into the first number? 6 alone is larger than 1, so it can't go into 1 at all. If a number can't go into a number because it's too large, we have to write a 0 on top because it can go in 0 times, which is none. Now we have to take a look at the next number and add it to the first number. So how many times can 6 go into 12? 6 on its own is just 6. If we add another 6, that equals 12. Notice how there's 2 6s, so that means 2 6s can go into 12. So let's put a 2 on top of here, and then we have to subtract this by the divisor times the amount of times it can go in, which is 2. 6 times 2 just equals 12. So we have to subtract this by 12. 12 minus 12, that just equals 0. Then we have to drag down the next number, which is also 0. Now, if the base here was just 1 0, then we can stop. But notice how there's 2 zeros, so we have to keep going. How many times can 6 go into 0? 6 can go into 0 times because 6 is larger than 0. So we have to write a 0 on top of here, and then 6 times 0 equals 0. So we just subtract this by 0, and then we get 0 as a final answer. Now we get the answer 0, 2, 0. But the 0 in front actually doesn't matter. This 0 doesn't mean anything. If you have a 0 before some number, it doesn't mean anything. So really, our final answer is just 20. So let's talk about some examples. Let's say we had 0, 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 5, 1, and 0, 1, 2, 3. The 2 zeros in front don't mean anything. So this just equals 12. The zeros in front of here don't mean anything. So this just equals 51. The 0 here doesn't mean anything either. So this just equals 1, 2, 3. What if we had 0, 1, 0, 3? The 0 in front doesn't mean anything. But the 0 in the center does, because 103 is a real number. So this just equals 103. Now what about 0, 0, 1, 2, 0, 3? The 2 zeros in the front don't mean anything, but 1, 2, 0, 3 is a real number. So this just equals 1, 2, 0, 3. Now let's see one more problem. Let's say we had 132 divided by 6. So let's write this out. The dividend is 132 and the divisor is 6. Let's take a look at the first number. 6 is too large to go into 1, so let's write a 0 on top of here. Now let's take the next number. 6 can go into 13 2 times, because 6 plus 6 is 12. But 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18, which is too large to go into 13. So only 2 6s can go inside of 12. Now, we have to subtract this by the divisor times the amount of times it can go into the number. And in this case, that would be 6 times 2, because 6 can go into 13 2 times, and this equals 12. So we have to subtract this by 12. 13 minus 12 just equals 0. And now we have to drag down the next number. How many times can 6 go into 12? 6 plus 6 equals 12. So 6 can go into 12 2 times. So let's put a 2 up here. Now let's subtract this by 12. And this equals 0. And notice how we only have 1 0 on the bottom. So that means we're done. That means this is our final answer. But notice how the 0 in front doesn't actually mean anything. So our final answer is just 22. Now let's do one more problem. Let's do 84 divided by 7. Feel free to pause the video to try this problem on your own. And feel free to work it out on a piece of scratch paper. Now, 87 is the dividend, and 7 is the divisor. Now, 84 is the dividend, and 7 is the divisor. So let's put the dividend 84 here, and the divisor 7 here. Let's take a look at the first number. How many times can 7 go into 8? 7 alone is just 7, but if we add another 7, this is 14, which is too large to go into 8. So really only 1 7 can go into 8. So let's put a 1 on top of here. Now we have to subtract this with the divisor times the amount of times it can go in. 7 times 1 just equals 7. So we have to subtract this by 7. So this is minus 7. And 8 minus 7 equals 1. Now we have to drag the next number down. How many times can 7 go into 14? 7 on its own is just 7, plus another 7, that equals 14. Notice how we have 2 7s, so that means 2 7s can go into 14. Now we have to subtract this number by the divisor times the amount of times it can go into that number. So 7 can go into 14 2 times, so 7 times 2 equals 14. So we have to subtract 14 by 14. 14 minus 14 just equals 0. And notice how there's only 1 0 at the bottom, so that means we're done. So 84 divided by 7 equals 12. This is our final answer.